Well, welcome, folks, to another episode of Stories for Healing. As you know, this is something that started towards the end of October. We now find ourselves in December, and we're still going strong. We've had storytellers from around the world asked to be included in this. Of course, they all are. We're very pleased to invite storytellers to come and tell stories of healing, of reconciliation, of growth, and just all those things that we really are searching for, no matter where we find ourselves in this chaotic and often antagonistic world. We also know as storytellers that not only is it a great thing to tell stories like this for others, but it's great for ourselves, and we get a lot of our own healing by helping share these inspirational stories with each other. So today, I'm particularly excited to be able to invite Sara Armstrong to come and tell us another such story. So Sara, please tell us a story.
Thank you, Jim. The story I'm about to tell you has been told in many cultures. The version today comes from China. And it starts with a woman who was given a wish. Now, we don't know whether it was a lifetime of good works or she got lucky in some way, but there it was. She was given a wish, and there's only one thing that she'd ever wished for her whole life. She wanted to know the difference between heaven and hell. Well, immediately the ground opened up beside her, and she could see steps going farther down than she could see the end of. Down she went on that ladder, down, 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 and she finally came to a level spot. And she let go of the ladder and turned around, and she was on a path. And so she followed the path, and it wound, and it wound, and it wound, and it wound. And it finally, she came to two gates. And as soon as she opened those gates, she heard a sound that was like the buzzing of angry bees. Well, she followed the path and she followed the sound, and it wound and it wound and it wound. And she came into a huge open area where there were tables piled with the most delicious looking foods, sweets and meats and fruits and rice. And around the tables were people, each with a pair of chopsticks 3 feet long. And she realized the sound she heard was the voices of those angry, hungry people. Well, immediately she was back where she started, and she looked up into the sky, and there was a ladder reaching farther than she could see. So she climbed and she climbed and she climbed and she climbed and she climbed, and eventually it too came to a level space. And she turned around, and there was the path. So she followed the path, and it wound and it wound and it wound, and it ended in front of two gates. And when she opened these gates, she heard a sound that was like water flowing over rocks. Well, she followed the path and she followed the sound, and she came into a huge open area where there were tables piled with the most delicious looking foods, sweets and meats and fruits and rice. And around those tables were people, each with a pair of chopsticks 3 feet long. And she realized the sound she heard was the voices of those happy, satisfied people. Now, this is a riddle, so I'm sure you've been thinking about the difference. And what the woman realized was that the people in hell were trying to feed themselves with those huge chopsticks, where the people in heaven understood that if they fed each other, no one would go hungry.
Wonderful story. Wonderful story. You know, and that's a story that I think is so visual. Um,
Mm.
as you think about people with those long chopsticks, um, struggling to to get food into their own mouths, and how silly it seems in retrospect. But we know, we do get concerned about ourselves, and we forget that we're actually able to help each other, and that if we do, people will reach out and help us.
To benefit ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, my goodness. Now, where did you first encounter that story?
I have no idea. It's been so long. I really
it's
don't.
it's one of the. It does live on. It does
Yeah.
live on. Yes. Well, sometimes a short story is all we need. It's all we need to bring us back to perhaps a clearer way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I want to invite each of you now to think about even sharing this story. And it's a nice story to tell. I'm sure you could tell it with a little practice, but even more so, find a way to take those 3-foot long chopsticks of ours and learn how to feed each other. And what a wonderful place this will be. So come back, see the next episode. We're here every weekday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can find the recordings on the Facebook page or on the YouTube playlist. And tell stories to each other and feed each other. It's not a bad thing at all. Thanks a lot.